And so what I'm going to try and do for you, and I try and do for every group, unlike some speakers, is I'm only going to talk to you about things that I know from experience. I try and be my own lab rat as much as possible, and I do spend money doing the kind of things that we're going to talk about all during the time that we have together this morning. The second statistic that I think may be interesting to you is that the techniques and the ideas we're going to talk about this morning, we know have been responsible for at least $150 million worth of sales through direct marketing in each of the last 2 years. Now, we know that because in my consulting relationships, I not only get fees, but I get royalties. And so I've been paid royalties on those. I think there's a few million more that have slipped through the cracks, but we know about those numbers. And we know that it has happened in 68 different product categories. So it is unlikely you are sitting here this morning with some product, business, or idea that one of the 8 or 9 or 10 things that I'm going to talk to you about this morning does not apply to. The last thing that people find interesting about me, we're going to talk a little bit about television. I do a lot of work in the infomercial business. You know, those annoying half-hour programs that sell you spray paint for your balding hair and exploding car polish and personal power tapes. And if those things have been keeping you up at night, if you flick the dial just about any time now that you channel surf, and that's the new term for it, is channel surfing, about 1 out of every 4 shows that you encounter, I have something to do with. I want to tell you one quick story to kind of set the stage here, and then we'll get rolling. It is an old story. It has to do with the old wise rabbi on his deathbed. And this rabbi is passing away after many, many years, and he has gathered all his rabbinical students for the death watch, which you may or may not know is a normal practice. And he has them organized along the deathbed with the smartest student closest to him in the position of honor, and then the next smartest student, and then the next smartest student, and the next smartest student, all the way down to, at the foot of the bed, the dunce of the class. And they're all with him there on the death watch, and it becomes increasingly apparent that the rabbi is going to leave any minute, check out. And so finally the best student is motivated by the fact that he's checking out to lean over and say, look, I'm really sorry to bother you, sir, but we've studied under you for years and years and years, and now it looks like we're going to lose you. And before you leave, could you please finally synthesize and condense for us the meaning of life on this planet? And the old rabbi musters up enough energy to kind of half sit up in bed and whisper into the student's ear, the meaning of life is like a river. And so the best student turns to the next student and passes it down. He says, the master says the meaning of life is like a river, pass it down. And the next one passes down. The master says the meaning of life is like a river. Gets all the way down to the dunce, and the dunce says, what do you mean life's like a river? Well, I don't understand that. What does he mean by that? Ask him what he means. And so they pass back up the line. The dunce doesn't understand. Please ask the master what he means. Gets all the way up to the best student. The best student leans over very apologetically and says, yeah, I know you. I hate to tap your last energy, but the dunce, you know, the rest of us, but the dunce just doesn't get it. And he wants to know what you mean by life's like a river. And the old rabbi with his dying breath says, okay, so it's not like a river. You will have, during the next 3 days, a whole slew of us experts get up here, and each one of many will tell you the one magical way to make huge sums of money in the information marketing business. And I guess one of the functions of the first speaker on the program, normally called the keynote speaker, is maybe to give you a brief dose of truth. And here it is. There are lots of different ways to be right, and there is not going to be any one way presented by anybody here that is right for everybody in the room. Tom Peters, who you may remember, wrote the book In Search of Excellence, which if you read it now, half the companies that were featured in Search of Excellence are out of business, and which is kind of embarrassing because the book stays in the bookstores. And Tom was asked about that in a recent interview, and he said, well, you don't really think everybody's supposed to take the advice in the book, do you? Surely they're not running their companies by what I told them to do. And that has a great deal to do with what we're going to tell you up here. You have to cafeteria this. You have to pick and choose. And I, for the sake of the first hour that we have together, will cafeteria you and try and cover 8 or 9 different things that I think are very important about marketing information products. The first thing I'd like to talk with you about is the issue of lead generation. I think as you look for a model, and by the way, there are, as Ted's very excited to say, you know, there are 500 people here. As near as I can tell, 480 of them are speakers. So for the other 20 of you, you know, that some of you may be, well, it's a heck of a way to fill a room, isn't it? That may be new and may be getting into direct marketing and information marketing for the first time. I will tell you that, in my opinion, the most reliable model, the lowest risk model, the most predictable model of all is based on lead generation. And I'll give you a couple of interesting examples. Everybody has seen the Nordic Track ads. And Nordic Track is actually in a difficult business in that they are selling something you have to physically do work with in order to get any benefit from, which I don't envy them that. And Nordic Track was, in 1987, a very conventional, traditional marketer. They had their products in stores and in health equipment stores, and they were a relatively small company. And a guy by the name of Jim Bostic converted them to the business you see today, which is a purely lead generation-driven business. It doesn't matter whether they're using magazines, newspapers, USA Today, card deck, television, every media that they use is purely for the purpose of generating a lead, and then they do a massive amount of follow-up. And by the way, theirs is an excellent mailing list to get on to learn from. If you've never sent away for a Nordic Track, for a free Nordic Track video about one of their pieces of equipment, you should do so just to be in the stream of then getting all their follow-up mailings to see what they do, because they're amongst the most brilliant marketers in our field. They went very quickly from about a $20 million company to about a $200 million company on the strength of a lead generation system, and that tells you what they can do. I have a client I've had now for several years. They're a funny little company. Some of you have probably seen their television show. They're a company called US Gold, and they sell a little business opportunity called Gold by the Inch. And they put people for $500 to $1,500. They put them in a little business. They set them up with a doohickey that sits on a table with about 20 spools of different gold on it, and you can walk up there and get a gold bracelet made exactly, well, not gold, but it looks like gold, made exactly to the size of your wrist, ankle, neck, or whatever else it is you wish to hang it around. And this company is now 8 or 9 years old, and they are purely lead generation driven and have built their entire business on a lead generation system that a couple years ago switched from print to television, but nevertheless continues to be lead generation. And I'll tell you a little bit more about their growth as we go along. There's also a gentleman who I just talked to. I won't embarrass him by identifying him in the room, but somewhere in this group of